After many direct-to-video sequels, they finally rebooted the Wrong Turn franchise. Let's get into it. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone's doing well out there. And today we're going to talk about the new Wrong Turn film. This film got a small theatrical release back in January. It just dropped today on Apple iTunes and other streaming services. On Apple, it was $9.99 to buy and I think $5.99 to rent. I bought the film. I like the original Wrong Turn. I really do. I think it's a fun little, inbred mountain men and hillbilly fun horror film. I had fun with it when I saw it in the theaters. I still go sit down and watch it and have a good time with it today. Unfortunately, the sequels aren't that good. Even part 2 I don't think is the greatest, and after that they really went downhill in quality in terms of acting, directing, effects. So rebooting the franchise, if you want to keep it going, made sense. And the guy who came back to write this film was the same gentleman who wrote the original. That gentleman's Alan B. McElroy. And Alan B. McElroy wrote one of my favorite Halloween sequels, Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers. And he came back to write this film. Mike P. Nelson's directing this film. I am not familiar with any of his work, but he has directed other things. This film's rated R. It's an hour and 49 minutes long. Charlotte Vega is our main lead of the film, and she plays Jen, and she's one of the group of these friends that go into the Appalachian Mountains to hike the Appalachian Trail. Matthew Modine plays her father in the film. Basically, it's kind of like the first film, although we see a little bit more of the friends before shit starts to happen. We get introduced to them in the beginning of the film. I'm not going to give anything away, no spoilers, because it just dropped, and I know a lot of people haven't seen this yet, because I know a lot of people didn't get to see it in the theaters because a lot of theaters are closed. It's basically these group of friends that go into this small town in Virginia. They got a 2-night stay at this bed and breakfast. They're going to hike the Appalachian Trail. And one of the friends in the group is already just making disparaging remarks about the people that live in this town. Oh, they're rednecks, they're hillbillies, they're probably racist, all this stuff. And he gets in a little skirmish at his bar. They go out the night before they go hiking. And the guy is kind of a douchebag. And at the end, during the film, you see he's also a coward as well. He totally believes his wife. You'll see what I mean when you see the film. I'm not going to get into it too much. But they go into the woods the next morning, and they get warned not to stay on the trail. Don't wander off the trail too much. Now, Jen's boyfriend's a history buff, and as they're hiking up the mountain, he goes, there's an old Civil War fort that's supposed to be up in here. So they go off the trail, which is just usually how this shit goes downhill real quick. And not too long after that, bad things start to happen. Although there is a lot of, let's say, assumptions going on, and the assumptions that they make are what makes it worse on them. And there's these people living in the mountains called the Foundation. It's generations of these people that went into the mountains hundreds of years ago because they thought the U.S. was going to fall apart, and they wanted to live by their standards, the way what they thought the American foundation of America was. And they stayed up there for hundreds of years, and they still live there to this day, and they live like they did back then. They grow their own foods, they live in these huts and these buildings they made, and they have their own courts and their laws. It's actually very interesting the way Alan B. McElroy wrote this and the way they set it up. I actually found this angle pretty interesting. Just so you know, I don't think this is not a spoiler, there is no inbred hillbillies in this film. Not at all. So if you're expecting inbred hillbillies, you got the wrong film. You might want to rewatch the original or watch The Hills Have Eyes remake. And Jen and her friends run afoul of these people, and her father comes to try to find her because he hasn't heard from her in 6 weeks. He goes up in the mountains and he finds his daughter and these people, and I'm not going to give anything else away. Now, the film is pretty well shot by Mike P. Nelson. There's some beautiful shots of the forest, waterfalls, the mountains of Ohio. This is where they shot this film, not Virginia, even though it takes place in Virginia. The acting is pretty good. Charlotte Vega is my first time ever seeing her in a film. I thought she was very believable in her role. And her character does go through some shit as the film goes on, and she has to go through an arc to survive this ordeal. And the people that play the Foundation folks, like a lot of these actors I've never seen before, and they all do pretty damn well. I was pretty satisfied with the acting and the directing, and they keep the makeup effects practical. I didn't see any CGI. Maybe there was, and I didn't notice it on first watch. But most of it, everything I saw looked practical to me. And I would even say this movie's gorier than the original film. They actually do go for broke on that aspect of it. I was pleasantly surprised with that. because you go to these films to see some really good kills, and there are some really damn good kills in this film. The ending, I'm not going to give it away, but that was where I thought I was going to have to give this a really shitty score. The ending happens, and I'm like, I sat on the couch and I even said out loud, I'm like, I hate that fucking ending. It sucks. And then the credits start rolling, and then it saved it for me. So if you see the credits start rolling, don't stop watching it. Watch through the credits. That saved it for me, because I was like, I went from I hate this goddamn ending to that was actually not too bad. I actually like that ending now. So it saved it for me. What I will say, criticizing this film a little bit for, I would say it's a little too long for what they're trying to do here. I know they're trying to set up these people in the mountains and these friends, but I just felt like a little bit in the middle of the film, you could have lost 5 to 8 minutes of the film and you probably wouldn't have missed it too much. I think the pacing drags a little bit in areas where it really shouldn't for a film of this type. But overall, I was pleasantly surprised with how good of a reboot this was. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. There's some things that I wish were a little different. I don't want to give because I might spoil something. But overall, I was pretty satisfied. I would give this film a 7 out of 10. It goes in a little bit of a different direction than the original film. I mean, what they do have in common is friends going into the woods and shit gets real fast. But other than that, they do go in a totally different direction with this film. And I was interested in it for the most part. I thought it drug a little bit, but overall, a 7 out of 10 for this film. I enjoyed it. I'll watch it again probably pretty soon, just to watch it again and see what I think on a second viewing. But yeah, 7 out of 10 for the new Wrong Turn, which just dropped today on VOD. Have you seen this film yet? If not, I'm going to recommend checking it out, especially if you're a fan of this franchise. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you have seen it. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I will be back later in the week with a little horror film from the 70s called The Car. And I hope everyone's doing well out there. I'm just going to leave you with bye.